It's more of like a growth. Like, okay, it's how are we getting better every day? I think Pete would tell you that. His motto is always like, "What's next?" Right? So, what? How are we? Maybe stagnant's not the best term, but how are we like learning? How are we? How are we going to crush this thing moving forward? And coach, that's it. Our culture, and then how are we evolving? Who's going to help us move to the next level? Right? How are we going to, compete with everybody that we need to compete with, and advance this organization moving forward? And I think we're going to learn so much of this process about the ideas, and I'm proud of all the connections we have around the National Football League, and we've learned a lot already. And so to be able to understand what that looks like, different opinions, different philosophies, open the door to different ideas, whether it's a defensive head coach or a offensive head coach or a special teams guy that is becoming a head coach. I think that's all just really, really important. I think it's a young, talented team that is, feels like they're right on the cusp. I think there's a lot of guys that have a ton of confidence in their abilities. They're all very highly disappointed in what just happened. I think to a man, they would all tell you that, and I know this from the exit interviews that I had, that we still should be playing, and everybody was very disappointed. But I think it's a great core. I think I think we're a very attractive job because of that. I think there's young talent all over the place. I think we're the fourth youngest team in the league or something like that, and the Packers were number one, I guess, first team since 1977 to make the playoffs. So, yeah, you're going to go through some pretty dark times, and then you're going to do some great times too. The key is to stay right in the middle of that and not be on a roller coaster, and to know that when you win a game, it doesn't mean you have all the answers and you're the best thing going. And then when you lose a game, you're not the worst team in the National Football League and you don't have any good players. So the balance is to be right in the middle of that. And so there's something to be said for that experience, absolutely. People going through tough times with the media or, just any of the pressures. People are high-end achievers in this industry, as you've been exposed to, and they put a ton of pressure on themselves. So, our key here is to let people know that they're going to have people that they have a strong foundation of people that are going to help them be the best head coach, and have the best staff that they could possibly have. And they're going to know that we can support them, whether they've been a head coach or they haven't been a head coach. But that's a great philosophical head coaching, search question for sure. I think you definitely have to look at the history. You have to look at, the different experiences that those individuals have had. We've done a ton of study on that already. We've been looking at it for years. Special teams coaches, especially when you look at Coach Harbaugh, I apologize for some of the other coaches that I'm missing there, but he stands out with all the success they've had in Baltimore. And, when you're the special teams coach, you have a really good feel for, and you're in the midst of who's going to be inactive, active all throughout the week, and the planning on both sides of the ball with, the offensive staff and the defensive staff, and what both groups are looking for. And so there's a balance too of, okay, if you hire a defensive coach, and he hires a really good offensive coordinator, and then that offensive coordinator is going to leave the next year, then what kind of consistency are you going to have with the quarterback? If you go back and look at, the San Francisco 49ers, when we hired Coach McCarthy in Green Bay, they had just drafted Alex Smith, and so they had like 3 different offensive coordinators, so that got things, a little bit wonky for his career early in the mix. So you have to look at those things, and if you hire a great offensive coordinator or a guy that's going to be a good play caller, where's the strength as the defensive coordinator, and what kind of consistency and philosophy, strategy is that guy going to have, and how long is he going to be able to stick around too? So staff development and procurement, I think that's extremely important, regardless if it's a offensive guy, defensive guy, or special teams guy.